Yeah, it's the Mokolé, the Weredinosaurs, the Weredragons, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I did a video before about were-sharks, the Rokea. So after that, I got this and decided I was gonna do a video about this too. So what the Mokolé are basically about is that they were in the age of the dinosaurs when the Earth was still fungi and one big continent and all that, and they were there as basically the kings of the dinosaurs, and they have the three forms. They have only three forms. They can turn into a reptile. They can turn into a kind of a dinosauric, monstrous form, dragon-like form, yeah, and finally into a humanoid form. Now, during the time of the dinosaurs, they didn't really turn into a human form because, humans weren't around. The humanoid form that they turned into kind of worked as a blueprint for the humans' evolution, and the humanoid form that they had during that time was more of a just what you would expect from the mixture of a reptile and human. Just a reptile man with, opposable thumbs and all that sort of stuff, so they can build stuff and make tools and all that sort of stuff. And they had their own dynasty. They were herding dinosaurs back then, and they were building temples and all that sort of stuff. And it's really actually kind of cool. And the meteor that came down to Earth that wiped out the dinosaurs, in this book they give the explanation that that was the first apocalypse, and the apocalypse that's going on in the Werewolf the Apocalypse storyline is the second apocalypse kind of deal. And at the same time, that's kind of cool, but at the same time it kind of diminishes the apocalypse that's going on in the storyline, because if it's just, something as simplistic as a meteor wiping out an entire Earth full of creatures, that I would want to see something more imaginative. So do what you will with that. The were-dinosaurs of today all have this inbuilt ability. Like with the were-sharks who don't age, and therefore they have a lot of memories about the past. The were-dinosaurs do age, but they have this ability that I think is either as an ability or as a background, that they have this magical the memory, where they have this kind of, the higher the rating of the ability is, the further into the past of the Mokolé you can see. And not like clear POV shots or anything like that, but this kind of dream style thing when you meditate and concentrate on the past, and you can kind of, it's not about it's not about, gathering evidence about something, what happened in this house 2 days ago, let me think. It's much more just a meditative kind of thing about spiritual stuff being one with your species, legacy and history kind of deal, And the Mokolé storyline goes that when the meteor hit, the first apocalypse happened, the Mokolé gathered in Congo, and they went into hibernation there, and I believe they woke up during the time of the War of Rage, and another thing that I really like about the Mokolé is that, yeah, in the modern Mokolé have a human form, and the monstrous dinosaur war form, and the reptile form. The thing that I really like about that is that the war form is kind of build your own kind of thing. There's a list of different features you can pick up for it, very much in the same way as gargoyles in the vampire games, where you can decide whether you want a spiky tail for it, whether you want armor on the kind of like exoskeleton stuff, and whether you want a huge maw and all that sort of dinosauric features. It's not like when you're in that form you are a dinosaur and you have to pick a species. You are the dinosaur kings, the dragon kings of the ages past, so you are something much more, let's say, much more majestic and magnificent than just regular dinosaurs. You are a dragon king, basically, so... And if I sound like I'm kind of staggering and kind of like, I think it was this and this, it's because this book is written terribly. That's its biggest flaw. This book is terrible. I like the idea of the Mokolé, the were dragons. I like all the aspects about what's in kind of inside this, but it's just written very poorly. This is a terrible production. It's the very beginning. In the very beginning, there's a huge list of words of the Weredinosaurs' own words for things, and that's gonna be your most needed tool in this, because it's written like they're really like using as much of it as they can, and it's really like annoying when during one sentence you have to flip the pages to see what the hell they're talking about, because they have their own word for Africa, they have their own word for rage, they have their own word for each of the forms, they have their own word for compassion, for werewolves, for pain, for history, and all that sort of stuff. Those have all have their own terms, so it's really annoying to read about it and read like and then Glachmak landed into the Wolfblok, thinking he could smack his Mulchmak into Mach into the great voids of Ramlekak. You know, you're like, well, gee, you know, it's authentic because they're talking in the language of the creatures they're talking about, but it's a real fucking chore and a real fucking bummer, and that's one of the reasons why I would say just steer clear of this, because it's not a pleasant read. The only people who will actually suffer through this are people like me, who are so into the idea and the concept of the Weredinosaurs, were-dragon thing, that will just suffer through it so that they will know all the details they need to know. Even though I don't know all the details, because I wouldn't double check anything, because it's such a bummer to read. And there's other stuff too, you know, about how if people bitch about Werewolf the Apocalypse's tribes being regional, that's nothing compared to this. You know, if you're, you know, in a werewolf, if you're the Silver Fangs are from Russia, the Fiannas are Celtic, the Wendigo are North American Indians, and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't have to be as purely as people might think. You don't have to be a Russian in order to be a Silver Fang. You could have your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather be a Russian Silver Fang, and still you would be 100% pure Silver Fang. It's just about lineage and about, you know, where your family line comes from. Here, there are only 4 kind of tribes. They are called streams, but I'm just gonna go call it tribes because I've bitched already about the terminology thing. But anyway, there are only 4, and they are all strictly regional. There is one that is about that centers in Australia and the Polynesians. There is one that centers in Central Asia. There is one that centers in India, and there's one that centers in Africa, but has also spread into South Africa and North Africa. No, South America and North America. And they are all racial. That's one of the big bummers too, because you can be a Silver Fang but be born in frigging Spain or in Africa. Who cares? But here, if you are from a certain stream, you are from that part of the world, and thus you are a member of the race that resides there, because Polynesians and these Australians and like these Maori people, they are of a certain race. Oriental people in Central Asia, brown people in India, and black people in Africa. You know, it's kind of... I hated that they attach race with these kind of tribal statistics, and it's just... There's all sort of stuff like, okay, if you are Polynesian, if you are a Maori person, you are much more in tune with Umbra, because shit, that's the stereotype. And it's not just that, well, it's a stereotype because you get racial abilities, and I call them racial abilities because the locations are knit closely and tied to the race that resides there. And the way it's represented, the way that, okay, if you're a Maori or you're an Aboriginal in the area of Australia and the Polynesians, you are much more in tune with Umbra. Thus, every Umbra-related gift is much more cheap to you with when you buy them with experience or freebie points. Now let's review that a bit. And that's how it's put here. That's how vaguely it's put here. All Umbra-related gifts. Now, how did you learn gifts? That's right, spirits teach you gifts. Now, where do you find spirits? Where do spirits reside? In Umbra. Every single gift is Umbra-related. Fuck. And the Indians in this one are all Hindus. Yes, they can enter the Umbra, where they can meet spirits of Gaia and of Helios and of Luna and of Wild, Weaver and Worm, and all these are there for them to touch and to experience and to coerce with. But they still kind of worship them alongside Krishna and all the other Hindu gods. It's just... And the Central Asia's stream is not a regular stream, a tribe, because in the werewolves changing breeds world, like in Vampire, of course they had to separate the Asian, the Oriental creatures separate from all the others. So they are not really like Fera, they are not really changing breeds, they are Hengeukai, and they have their own set of culture and rules and all that. So that basically, unless you want to use these kind of kindred of the East and all that sort of stuff, you have basically 3 streams. And the auspices are pretty much the same, except they get it from the sun and not from the moon, and thus gold is harmful to them instead of silver. And you know, the last ones, the Africans, they're just warriors. They're just very simply warriors. There's a whole bunch of information about their history, which is filled with, and then Raknaka said Mulkung is the of this tribe of... You know, who the fuck wants to read that? So basically the informative stuff in the end is just basically, well, they're warriors. They're African warriors. Oh, what? There's a lot of crocodiles in Florida and in South America and all that, what about them? Well, shit, I guess the Africans have just swam there at some point. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's not like this book advertises itself that if you're a fan or interested in evolution, this has a lot of interesting stuff for you. Like, for example, how humans evolved from rats, because the were-rats were the first to be created, according to this, that had a fully fledged human form. So, if you're interested in evolution, guess what? Humans come from rats. And guess what? If you're interested in evolution, we have this whole problem of how do we get these were-dinosaurs that are centered in Africa into North America. How did it go in real evolution? I don't know, maybe they migrated during the Ice Age from, Siberia to North America to Alaska when that was all frozen. Nah, that's like overly simplistic. We have a much more cooler and more detailed and original plan. They just swam through the Atlantic. They just swam. Okay. Fuck you, book. Fuck this book. It's shit. Don't buy it. Don't bother reading it. I would suggest grab this that has like this much information about the were-dinosaurs. It has all the information that is cool. Everything in this that is more than what's in this is crap. So yeah, there you go.